Amen.
Back several years ago when I was still in the Catholic Church, I was serving at a parish in Texas. I know some of you, I've told this story to some of the Wednesday nights, but I haven't told it to all of you. But serving at this parish in Texas, and there was this young woman who began coming to church, became very, very active. She was a single mom, and she had a little girl. The girl must have been maybe 3 or 4 years old. Beautiful, beautiful, cute little girl. But there was one problem, is that no matter, when she would look at me, she thought I was God, strangely enough. And, you know, she would come by after Mass or whatever, or in the parish hall, and she'd come to me with this kind of fear and reverence and say, "Hi, God." And no matter what I told her, or what her mom told her, or anybody else told her, she was convinced that I was God, and there was no getting around that. Well, one day we were having, I forget, some kind of function in the parish hall, and I happened to be walking across the hall, and she was there, sitting on the floor, and she looked up at me and she said, "Would you help me, please?" And I looked down, and I saw that she was struggling trying to get her shoes and socks on. So I bent down, helped her with her shoes, helped her with her socks, and went on. A few minutes later, I was standing near her mother, and the little girl approached to be near with her mom, and her mom looked at her, and she says, "Oh, I see you've got your shoes and your socks on." And the girl said, "Yes, God help me." I didn't say a word. Because any way you look at it, God did help her. He just sent me. I don't know where she is now or what kind of life she has now, but she will always have the memory that one day God helped her with her shoes. And that's okay. What that tells me, and what that ought to tell all of you, is that God is active and God is present in our lives in a real and vital way, not just in a passive way, but in a very, very active sense. God is in our lives. And the key to understanding that is that learning to have this relationship with God, learning to be one with Him, is not something that we acquire. It's rather something that we discover. And that's important. That's a big difference. We don't have to acquire God. We just have to discover Him and learn that He's always been with us, always a part of our lives, always helping us with our shoes, always helping us with whatever we need help with, because He is always there. And so we come to today's gospel, from the Gospel of John, the second miracle that takes place in Cana. Throughout John's gospel, he performs, Jesus does, 7 miracles or signs, each one of them a little bit more deep and a little bit more powerful in terms of their significance and the message that they're conveying, but they're all geared towards saying something about who Jesus is and what He is. And there's the fact that 2 of those 7 miracles take place in Cana is significant. So it's helpful to maybe have a little bit of a look at that. The first miracle in Cana is the one that most of us are more familiar with. That's the story of the wedding at Cana, where Jesus turned the water into wine. And this story today, where He helps the son of a nobleman or government official. And they serve as bookends, these 2 stories, these 2 miracles, they serve as bookends to a central theme that John is trying to develop early on in the gospel. If you look at what happened in Cana, He turned water into wine. Wine was so important to the people of Israel back at this time. Wine symbolized life. And the fact that Jesus provided them wine, and provided it in abundance, over 130 gallons of it, means that He was providing to them life in abundance. What happens next after the story in Cana is He has this incredible conversation with Nicodemus, and talks with Nicodemus about having to be born again, of having to discover newness of life. Following the dialogue with Nicodemus, He has a dialogue with the woman at the well, and He talks with her about the life-giving water that one can receive only from Him. And today, at Cana in Galilee, He heals the son of a nobleman who is at the point of death and restores him to life. All throughout these first 4 chapters of John, what John is talking about and the image that he's trying to present is of Jesus, the life giver. Jesus who gives us life, who gives us the fullness of life, who gives us life in abundance. That's what we're being called upon to understand, that he gives us life. 2 miracles at Cana. And they both are very, very similar. They start where Jesus is off somewhere, and 2 days later he comes to Cana. Once he's there at Cana, someone presents him with a request. At the wedding, it was his mother. At this story today, it was a government official. In both stories, at Cana, he seems to reject that request. He tells his mother, what does that have to do with me? And he tells the official, unless you see signs and wonders, you won't believe. Both of them persist in their faith. Mary just looks at the servants and says, do whatever he tells you. And this man today just says, forget that, just come and heal him, will you? Both of them filled with faith. And then Jesus does what's asked. Provides wine, and in this story, provides life. What's really significant in both of these accounts is that he'd been somewhere else, and after 2 days, goes back to Cana. And both of these miracles occurred on the 3rd day. You know something else that happened on the 3rd day? Okay? That's what John is trying to tell us. Okay? This is the Lord of life that we're dealing with here. This is the King of kings. This is the God of gods. This is the lawgiver and the life giver who is standing in front of us, providing us with newness of life, providing us with fullness of life, providing us with everything we've ever wanted and ever needed, and we don't have to look for it. We don't have to acquire it. It's already present to us. The gift of life, the gift of being able to relate to God in that nature, the gift of possessing within us everything that we need to grow in our relationship with him is already a part of who and what we are. And that's what John is trying to tell us with these stories. That it is God himself who gives us his life, his presence, to make us whole, to make us who we are, to make us into what he wants us to be. We don't have to acquire it. It's already there. And that's the beauty of it. The beauty of being a Christian, the beauty of being one of his followers is that because of the resurrection, because of the ascension, for you and for me, every day is the 3rd day. Every day. Because every day we can confront the risen Lord present in our midst. Every day he rises from the dead, rises from the depths within us to give us newness of life, to give us fullness of life. And face it, we all have our difficulties, we all have our problems, and we feel lost and sad and sorrowful and confused, and we don't know who we are, we don't know where we are, and we wail against God and saying, where are you? Well, guess what? He's in you, rising every day. Every day is the 3rd day. Every day he's present to you. Every day he rises from the dead within you. And all you have to do is take his hand and go with him. That's all. That's how much he loves us. That's how much he's present to us. That's how much our life means to him. That for us, every day is the 3rd day. And every day he takes us with him. Important to think about that. Important to remember that now that we're into an election season, because we'll hear everybody telling us about everything that we want. And I'm your answer. I can do it. I'll give you what you need. I'll do what you need. I'm the one that you want. Maybe. Elections are important. Politics is important. Deciding leadership and the direction of our country, it's all important. But ultimately, where do the answers come from? Where does the direction come from ultimately? No one candidate can supply us what we truly need. Only God can. And I think it's important as we face these realities and face the upcoming election, I think it's important to realize that Jesus is not a Democrat. He's not a Republican. I'd say primarily he's probably an independent. And that's what we have to remember. That in this life, in this situation that we're in, that we have needs, and things like politics and elections and all that, they're important. I'm not saying that we should not pay attention. But we should never, in the face of that, lose sight of the central reality. And the central reality is that, again, every day for us is the third day. Every day God is present to us. Every day He's rising from the dead to make us His own, to make us His people, created in His image, in His likeness, giving us life and giving us life in abundance. We sell that short so often in our lives. Knowing that we have life, knowing that He's there somewhere, but going through the motions, not paying attention, not really focused on what precious gifts have been given to us and what's taking place within us, taking it for granted and forgetting what it's really all about. Don't ask where God is. Don't ask what He's doing. Look inside, and there He is, rising from the dead every day, giving you life and giving it to the full. Amen.
Amen.